When I think of research in architecture, I really think about Lebbeus Woods and OMA. Are those the extremes of the spectrum? Wow. It's like Lebbeus Woods and OMA, and it's like Peter Eisenman and Christopher Alexander. I didn't want to do this one at a time because I don't want to say one is bad, one is good. Man, you know what? Christopher Alexander, arguably, objectively, has a better approach to designing buildings and spaces that people will inhabit than Peter Eisenman. I'm making some bold statements here. Frank Lloyd Wright arguably has a better approach, well, arguably, than Le Corbusier. We should be designing from the inside out, but sometimes the outside forces make that difficult. So, what do we do? What do we do as architects? What do we do as interior designers? What do we do as urban designers? What do we do as structural engineers? What do we do as mechanical engineers? What do we do as plumbing engineers? What do we do as contractors? The thing is, if you try to focus on the best possible product you could deliver, you never want to end the project. You just want to keep working on it. So it's a balance. It's really a balance of quality, being on time, being within budget. I think I should burn some incense. Let's burn some incense. There's a unique thing about me where I've worked for some architects that I really look up to. And it's easier to talk about architects that I never met. I never met Lebbeus Woods. I never met Christopher Alexander. I never met Peter Eisenman. I never met Frank Gehry. I have met Neil Denari. I have met Tom Main. I have met Tom Wiscombe. I have met Preston Scott Cohen. I met Michael Sorkin before he passed away. By the way, a lot of cities have been giving a lot more MEP corrections lately, a lot more mechanical corrections, electrical corrections, plumbing corrections, which is good because a lot of sets have been approved where on the drawings, the gas meter is not drawn, the water heater is even not drawn, the water meter is not drawn a lot of times. Construction happens, and it's like these things at least should have been planned for because you need certain distances between some of these protrusions that happen on the outside of the building. Sometimes when the building is designed and done and constructed, or even if just the foundation is poured, and it's like you could have some issues that have not been uncovered yet. And that's where we get general contractors giving the client a legitimate change order. Oh yeah, we got Bjark Ingels. He was probably the first architect to operate at the level that he did at the age that he did for a while, for maybe for multiple generations. He's got 2 books, as far as I know. He might have more than 2 books. Yes is More. That was really cool. It was the firm's architectural monograph presented as a comic book. Their second book, Hot to Cold, was arranged by the climate zones the projects were in, and they went from hot to cold. That's something that is probably going to start being copied pretty soon. Bjark Ingels, I believe, worked for OMA. It seems like out of OMA, the Office of Metropolitan Architecture, I believe founded by Rem Koolhaas, very successful architects came out of that firm. They shared the approach. They shared the approach that came from the Office of Metropolitan Architecture. The way they diagram is a very powerful communication tool. I've been doing diagrams of my projects, which I haven't looked at lately, but they were heavily influenced by the Office of Metropolitan Architecture. They were heavily influenced by Bjark Ingels Group. They were heavily influenced by Frank Gehry also. His office has those physical models where you see the program elements before they get wrapped in the oddly shaped skin. I often wondered what it would be like to combine that type of Frank Gehry diagram with those OMA, MVRDV, Bjark Ingels Group diagrams. So this is the Architecture Podcast. And the day of a different kind of podcast has not yet arrived because I'm going to have to wear a hip hop hat. A friend of mine recently put me onto Lauryn Hill's Unplugged album, and I was fired. I'm surprised I hadn't heard it.